The movie begins by showing a wife who is angry with her husband for always coming home drunk and never giving her money, so she has to work hard to be able to support their family. The dispute made a young man named Ankush Masram, or more familiar with Don, feel very annoyed because his father was very lazy. This story is set at a slum located in Nagpur, where the youths who live there always commit criminal acts such as stealing coal on a passing train, fighting, and even stealing the jewelry of women in the city. And here is Jund. The story continues. Apart from having to face economic problems, one of the residents living there, Regia, seems to be having very serious problems in her household, because when she was giving birth to her third child, Regia was considered to have had an affair with another man, so they were always blessed with daughters. That's why that night, Regia's husband had intended to kill their baby. But Regia managed to escape with her 3 children, so their fights reoccurred in public places, and in the end, Regia refused to go back home and decided to file for divorce from her husband that same night. The next day, when Don and his 2 friends were sitting on the railroad tracks, there was a rich young man named Sambhya who kept staring at them. Because he didn't like this, Don immediately approached Sambhya to give him a lesson. But it turns out that Sambhya is not alone, because some of his men are also there, so Don and his friends are now in a desperate situation. But without thinking much, Don instead hit one of Sambhya's men and then ran away, leaving his 2 friends behind. Not long after, right in the middle of a residential area, Sambhya managed to catch Don and almost beat him up. But it can be immediately stopped by a middle-aged man named Vijay Barse, who is a football coach at a top college that is St. John's is located right next to the slum area. The college has been restricted by a wall so that the villagers of the slums cannot cross it. Talking about Vijay's family, Vijay himself has a son named Arjun, who is preparing to fulfill his dream of continuing his education abroad. Meanwhile, on the other hand, when Regia was at her parents' house, her father questioned Regia's decision to divorce her husband. Because according to her father, Regia would lead a difficult life if she had to take care of her 3 children alone. But even so, the father also can't force it because Regia seems to be sticking to her decision. Long story short, when Vijay passing the slum area, he accidentally saw Don and his friends having fun playing football using plastic barrels under the pouring rain. And at that moment, Vijay feels that they all also have a good potential in football. Until the next day, Vijay decides to come to the settlement again with a ball that he deliberately took from his campus. But unfortunately, Vijay was unable to find Don and friends, because it turned out that at that time Don and his friends were fighting against a group, so they all had to be taken to the police station. When they were released, without wasting any time, Vijay immediately came to them. He is also willing to pay some money if they are all willing to play football using the ball he carries. And here, it is clear that Vijay has never discriminated against someone's status even though he is a teacher at a well-known university. Therefore, he never forbids anyone to play soccer though, like Monica, who is the only woman in the team. It was Don and friends' first time playing soccer with a real ball, so they all focused on chasing the ball regardless of the rules. That's why their stamina is immediately drained, even though they only play for 30 minutes. But in accordance with the agreement at the beginning, Vijay immediately gave them some money according to the promise he had said. They can use the money to buy food without having to commit a crime. Meanwhile, even though their area is limited by a wall, almost every day they are determined to climb the wall just to take Don to see his idol woman named Bhavana, who is studying at the campus, so that they often have to deal with the security there. On the other hand, because previously Vijay had seen how they play ball, on the second day Vijay tried to train them so they could play properly using goals made from recycled materials. And Vijay also returned to giving money to the team that won the game, and that's how Vijay managed to motivate them all to try hard to practice soccer. While on the other hand, it seems that Arjun has also decided to go abroad to continue his study. He had even bought a ticket so he could no longer stay in Nagpur, even though at that time, his father was also applying for his retirement plan. Meanwhile, in a different place, because Vijay never came to train them, Don and his friends finally decided to meet him directly at his campus. However, this was criticized by the football coach who would later replace Vijay, because he did not want Vijay to associate with these people, remembering that they are young people who often cause trouble and crime. However, Vijay immediately denied this statement by asking him not to discriminate against them anymore, because Vijay believed that if they were not naughty children, they could even be tough opponents for the football team on campus. Until later in the evening, when they all come to meet Vijay at his house, Vijay explains that he will never be able to see them again as he has no money. Vijay deliberately lies as one of the first steps so that they all stop playing soccer just for money. And it turned out that the plan worked, because at that moment they decided to keep playing soccer even without being paid. After seeing the passion they have, Vijay asks them all to get ready for a friendly match against his college team. That's why Vijay always takes the time to train them using methods like professional players. Even though the campus had rejected the match that Vijay had recommended, in the end he succeeded in persuading the chancellor by saying that this was a gift for Vijay's retirement. Vijay also opposes anyone else referring to the children as mobs, because now he had considered them as a team. The next day, not wanting the good name of the campus to be destroyed, the coach who replaced Vijay asked his players to win the match with a score of 10-0. Even though the friendly match has received permission from the campus, the villagers who want to support their team are still not allowed to go inside. On the other hand, surprising things started to happen when Don and his friends even came to the match wearing weird outfits with various kinds of accessories, and they thought that's a style. However, the match still continued. Even with Vijay's help, the villagers are now also allowed to enter the field to support their team. Just before the match starts, Don's eyes fall on Bhavana, who turns out to be there using her luxury car. This rare moment was immediately used by Don to steal Bhavana's attention by showing his action. But their incompatibility in playing as a team made them 3 points behind in the early minutes. But the surprising thing was when they saw Bhavana enter into the field while braiding her long hair. Don and his friends just realized that Bhavana is a professional soccer player until finally, when the whistle sounded for the end of the first round, Vijay came over to his players to express all his disappointment. And from that moment on, they all decided to let go of all the accessories they were wearing so they could play even more seriously. And the decision they made was right. It turned out that they overtake the score slowly in the second half. Until finally, they managed to win the friendly match by a penalty shootout. Unlike her teammates, besides having a beautiful face, Bhavana also has very high sportsmanship, because she immediately came over to Don's team to congratulate them. Because of that, Don was very happy and Bhavana blushed. While at the same time, there is a campus security officer who comes to Vijay and begs him to accept his best friend, Kelchand, in order to join together with his team, because all this time, Kelchand really aspires to become a professional soccer player. And without thinking, Vijay accepted him happily. After finishing the match, Vijay decided to invite them all to come to his house and celebrate the victory party. Then, at that moment, they all told the story of the life they had lived so far, so that made Babu, one of Don's friends, feel very emotional because this was the first time someone else cared so much about him. Besides Babu, the other children also had a life journey that was not easy, which eventually made them often have to deal with the police. But after all, in their hearts, they still have hope that they have never expressed. Even one of them, Yogesh, turns out that he also has a hidden talent, in which he can play a musical instrument and produce melodies that can hypnotize the mind. It seems that Vijay's presence can be a new spirit for all of them to live a much better life. Although Vijay himself looks devastated after hearing how hard they have fought so far just to survive. The next day, the campus organizes an event on Vijay's retirement day to honor him for his dedication as a coach. But at that moment, Vijay didn't say much, as if something was bothering him. Then, when Vijay was in discussion with Don and others regarding settlement land to be occupied by Hitler by the owner of the junk shop, they were surprised to receive news that Yogesh had just died as a result of falling from a train when he was stealing coal. Yogesh's sudden death became a very deep wound for all his friends. Likewise for Vijay, because Yogesh is one of the kids who has talent in music. Because of that, Vijay was determined to help all of them to get back their land, which had been controlled by Hitler by. Vijay reported Hitler by to the police, because according to the applicable law, Hitler had carried out illegal activities by building a business in sports grounds. With a letter from the court, from then on, Hitler had to be willing to move all his belongings to another place and the land could now be used again as a soccer field. Until one night, they all suggested Vijay to organize a tournament for all the homeless in India. Because it was a good idea, Vijay agreed and immediately asked permission from the campus to be willing to lend the court for the tournament. Because for Vijay, it is a great opportunity to appreciate the talent that these street children have, so that they can stay away from the criminal world. Vijay also promises that he will be the one responsible for everything. In the end, the campus agreed to Vijay's request. While at a different location, still having a grudge against Don, Sambhya tries to humiliate Don by forcing him to apologize. But even though Don had admitted his mistake, Sambhya continued to corner him, causing Don to lose his temper and immediately hit Sambhya on his head with a bottle so he could escape. But as a result of this incident, Don can no longer return to his place for a while, because now he has become a fugitive from the police. While on the other hand, so that the tournament can be held immediately, Vijay asked all his team members to distribute the match brochures he had made. And what they did seemed to be going according to plan because many homeless people from various regions were very enthusiastic about participating in the match. On the other hand, so that Don's problem can be resolved soon, Vijay suggests Don to immediately surrender to the nearest police station. Even though on the next day Vijay manages to free Don, he makes it clear to Don not to repeat his mistake again or else he will deal directly with Vijay. Then at the same time, on a railroad crossing, there was a man named Jagdish who wanted to end his life. When the man closed his eyes, the sound of a train began to be heard from a distance. But just before the train hit his body, Jagdish immediately avoided it so he could still live. After hearing that there was a soccer match, without wasting any time, Jagdish decided to immediately enter the field by climbing the wall so he could watch the match. Jagdish also joined one of the teams to become a goalkeeper, replacing the main goalkeeper who was injured. It turns out that Jagdish has extraordinary instincts. He is able to catch the ball during a penalty kick very well. But in the middle of the ongoing tournament, several police members came to Vijay to inform him that many of them had made a mess outside the field. Not long after, there was a fight between the two teams that were competing so that the atmosphere was no longer conducive. Because of this incident, the campus immediately asked Vijay to stop everything. There was even one from the Football Association who said in his interview that Vijay was a big fraud who only wanted to make money on the pretext of holding a slum soccer tournament. This news makes Vijay even more cornered. But soon Vijay is very surprised when he sees his entire team working together to clean the field at night. And as part of the committee who were also responsible, they promised Vijay that this incident would never happen again. Because of that, the tournament was finally able to resume and there were many journalists who attended to report. And Rajia's husband looks very happy when he sees Rajia being interviewed, even though they are no longer living together. Meanwhile, when several teams have been declared as the champion, the campus gave great appreciation to Vijay. In fact, they assumed that Vijay was the real winner and this statement was immediately applauded by everyone who was there. Long story short, when Arjun saw his father's success, he finally decided not to continue his education abroad. He only wants to stay in Nagpur along with his family. A few days later, Arjun is seen playing ball with his father's team. But because at the time Don is also there, Vijay advises him to leave immediately, remembering that Don is currently under surveillance so he is not allowed to stay in his own house until the specified time limit. But at the same time, Arjun comes to his father to inform them that they have been invited by the Slum Soccer Association in the world to have an international match. Since it was such a big opportunity, Vijay along with the others started selecting great players who had competed in previous tournaments. When the players were determined, they immediately rushed to prepare all the things they needed. Rajia even had to come to her husband's house to pick up important documents that would be used as a condition for making a new passport. But when she got there, she was immediately kicked out by her own parents-in-law. Meanwhile, on the other hand, even though Monica had been given money by Vijay to make a new passport, her application was rejected because Monica did not have the required documents. Not long after, a middle-aged man suggested to Monica and her father to first obtain domicile documents such as school origins or other certificates. If Monica has managed to get the document, then he promises to help Monica to get a passport. Meanwhile, in a different place, suddenly, Rajia is approached by her husband, who only comes to deliver the documents Rajia needs. Because her husband believes that Rajia really needs the documents. Meanwhile, so that all the players can go to international matches abroad, Arjun took his father to submit a proposal to an investor. But because the investor continues to underestimate the homeless, Vijay finally chooses to leave the room. He even refused if he had to ask someone else. But even so, Vijay also promised to arrange everything soon, because he didn't want his players to have to spend money, considering that they all also had economic problems. Then, according to what has been suggested, Monica together with her father immediately went to her old school. But because Monica only attended school there for 2 days, her name was not listed at the school. But after learning that Monica would play a football match to make her country proud, the school was willing to make a certificate as a form of their support. Even the principal will be willing to take all the risks. So the next day, Arjun questions Vijay's decision who has pawned their land titles just to finance the players. But Vijay is forced to do this because they don't have much time left. Meanwhile, even though Monica already has a school certificate, her passport application is still being rejected on the grounds that she still does not have a domicile certificate. Therefore, they are required to obtain the letter in advance from the community leaders in their village. Then at the same time, there was a man who owned a grocery store named Mahesh Basale, who comes to Vijay to give him some money as a form of support for the team that will compete because he feels proud of the achievements Don and his friends have done. The next day, some of the players finally started the process of making the passports they needed, but not Monica, who still had to ask for signatures from community leaders in her village. But the effort was worth it, because after a long series of processes, Monica finally managed to get the passport she wanted like the other players. In addition, Regia and her husband's relationship began to improve through football, and her husband even told Vijay that he would later take care of all the expenses for his wife's departure. Meanwhile, because at that time Don's passport had not yet been made, he then decided to go straight to the office to inquire about it. When he got there, the officer finally explained that his passport could not be processed because he still did not have permission from the police. But even though Don and his two friends were already at the police station, Don still didn't get permission on the grounds that he was still under surveillance. Even though Vijay has also come to help Don, the police still cannot issue a license, as only the court has the right to decide. Having no other choice, Vijay immediately asked for help from a lawyer he knew. The next day, the trial began and the prosecution's lawyer opened the trial by telling the judge that they should not take the risk of giving passports to people with criminal backgrounds, because then they could commit crimes that would tarnish India in the eyes of the world. And when Vijay's lawyers want to defend, Vijay immediately stops it, for he himself will speak directly. Then, without wasting time, in the presence of the judges, Vijay explained that all of them were also children of a nation that society had boycotted for centuries and that no human being was born as a criminal. That's why Vijay believes that they are good people, who have talent in playing football so that they can pass the national team selection test. Of course, this cannot be taken for granted, and if given the chance, Vijay believes that they will all be able to bring home a gold medal, considering that so far they have been forced to commit crimes just to survive. Even though they could be put in jail for what they did, no one could deny their future. Because in reality, they are all talented national team players and will play in the Olympics. Therefore, Vijay begs the judge so badly that he can give them just one chance. But even though the trial was over, it seemed that Don still couldn't get permission, so he couldn't go along with the other players. To keep motivating Don, Vijay comes to him and says that Don still has a chance next year. But when all the players had left getting on the bus, feeling disappointed, Don immediately bought a cutter knife from a merchant and then walked towards the police station, because he intended to kill the police who had hindered his dream. After hearing about Don's plan, Babu along with Imran try to calm him down by inviting him to have a drink together. And the next day, before leaving for the Olympics, the national team players gathered in a building to receive a direct appreciation from the Prime Minister, because it was the first time that India had participated in the prestigious Slum Soccer event. While on the other hand, it seems that the judge has decided to give permission to Don, so that unexpectedly, there is a postman who came to Don's place to deliver his passport. After getting a call from the postman, Don with his two friends immediately ran to meet him. This made Don feel very happy. Then, without wasting any time, smiling, the three of them immediately rushed to the bus station because they didn't have much time left. Unintentionally, Bhavana also saw them when they were about to cross the street. But while they were waiting for the bus to arrive, Sambhya suddenly came and took them somewhere. Meanwhile, because he didn't want to get involved in the problem anymore, Don immediately complied with Sambhya's request that Don had to apologize while kneeling. But it seems that this is not enough for Sambhya, so it makes Imran emotional. But at the same time, Bhavana arrives there with a police officer, and with the help of the police, the three of them finally make it to the airport on time. Before Don left to catch up with his friends, Bhavana also gave him a hug, saying that she would faithfully wait for Don to return to India. But it seems that the problem hasn't just over, because when Don passed the inspection section, the X-ray scanner detected a suspicious object. Even after Don took off everything on his body, the device still detected a dangerous object. And it turned out that the object was a cutter knife that was still in his pocket. But due to an element of accident, Don is finally allowed to enter after throwing the cutter away. Don felt very sad because his little stupidity almost prevented him from playing in the Olympics along with his friends. Then, using a special uniform bearing the football team logo, Vijay along with all of his players started walking while smiling in the hope that they would be able to make the nation proud by bringing home a gold medal. And the movie ends. Jund is a Hindi-language sports biographical film releasing in 2022 based on the life of a man named Vijay Barse, a founder of the NGO Slum Soccer. In this movie, Amitabh Bachchan playing the character of a real person and poured in a work, where so far Amitabh Bachchan mostly portray fictional characters. In fact, this film was made on a shoestring budget, and producer Sandeep Singh says that Amitabh Bachchan offered cost-cutting when the makers struggled with the budget. Sandeep Singh also revealed that Amitabh Bachchan, who is also an avid football fan, liked the script so much that he and his staff agreed to a cut in his fees. But apart from that, from this film we can know if someone has a bad past, it doesn't mean that the past can make their future bad too, because anyone can change, no matter how dark the past is. All humans have the same right to achieve their dreams, even though they are homeless.